I mean, this is square peg round hole kind of stuff. Trying to make Pookie into a poacher. Pookie was never going to be a replacement for Gary Hooper. He's not that type of player. We said this. We shouted from the rooftops in August, and people called me a moaner and said, I needed to give him time. Well, the time has come. I mean, I'm sorry. We're halfway through October. When Gary Hooper's first season, halfway through October, he was scoring goals for fun. He was on a dozen goals by this point. That's what we need. That's what Finn Bogus brought.
You got to hit the ground running.
We spent $2 million on Balde. We spent another $2 to perhaps $3 million on Bo Richter. Two players that we really didn't need. So £2 million there, £3 million on Bo Richter. There you go. You get the $5 million. Not to mention the wages that we're paying each of them. We could have purchased Finn Bogason, and not had Balde and Bo Richter. What's the situation that we're left with now? Can't find a place for Balde, and it's going to be another situation where we wasted $2 million on a striker, and by January we're going to be trying to figure out a place where we can loan Balde out so that he can get some experience. And in reality, he's never going to play in a Celtic shirt again. It's a shambles.
And whoever sanctioned the move for that Bo Richter, the Ajax lad, I mean, it'd be quicker just getting a constrictor fucking snake and wrapping a fanny pad around him, because that Bo Restrictor, his new name is Tampon, as a parrot one's called him, in 1 week and fucking out for 3, you know what I mean? So this guy is just, and it seems to me, right, apart from the few successes we've had, there's been too many players, especially strikers, right, of the 1, 2, 3 million, whatever they're paying for these strikers, but they're not even the finished article. And I mean, Hooper, if you watch Hooper tonight against Norwich, I mean, alright, he's up against it, different type of way Celtic play to Norwich, and he never had a sniff or anything really, but like you said, he scored about a dozen goals. He hit the ground running up here. In Scottish football, it's no rocket science. You don't need to be the most cleverest player to score 20, 30 goals. I mean, players from Diddy teams, look at the Dundee United players that were touted. If you brought one of them in, they would score about 20 goals, but then they say, we don't want them because they're not going to do it in Europe. Well then, what's the point of buying Bo Restrictor when he can't play for us? What's the point of buying Pookie when he's not going to get a chance? What's the point of putting $2 million out for Baldy when he's not going to get a sniff against Barcelona, Milan or thing? Why even spend that money? So there you go. So if Pookie doesn't get a game tomorrow night or 2 nights time, and if Baldy doesn't play or Bo Restrictor, now you count that up, right? You count up, that's about $5 million for 3 players, and they're not going to even get a sniff. So take those 3 players away, throw them to fuck because they're not getting a sniff of it, and take all that money and play it for Finn Bogason. If the guy's fit and if he's scoring, why do we not just fucking do that? Say the 3 duds that are not even playing, play for one. I mean, if I'm doing accountancy by a fag packet, this is a fag packet accountancy, and if I can do it here, I mean, what the fuck's Peter Lobel getting paid £1 million for? I mean, I'll sit here and do it in a fucking living wage, $7.50, and say, look, ditch these 3 fucking mugs. You've got a fanny pad that's a fucking snake, and you've got another 2 cunts who, one's a project, and the other one's fucking, you're hoping at best he's going to maybe turn it on. And I mean, he played for Schalke and wasn't even a prolific striker. So what is going on? This is what we're needing, a top-class striker, and we've fucked it up by wasting 3 players' wages for a fucking... it doesn't make sense, does it, G?
No, I think that we're going for quantity rather than quality. I think that the rationale is if we bring in more players, we increase our chances of hitting on one of those players. So if we pay $2 million here, $2 million there, if we pay $2 million for 3 players, we have triple the chance of striking on one of them. Where they come in, they have a Wanyama type situation. They have a couple of good seasons. They get noticed by a club down in England, and we can sell them for 5 times as much. Well, the problem with that is you're also reducing the likelihood that they're going to have the success that is going to get them noticed, especially at striker. I mean, it's a bit more subjective. It's a bit more qualitative for a midfielder. You're doing things that can't really be quantified. Strikers are judged on the goals that they scored, and not just the quality of the goals, but the number of goals. It's very easily quantitative. So therefore, you either have it or you
Hold on,
don't.
Sorry to jump in, right? But you imagine it, Finn Bogason scores a goal against Milan. Celtic, you imagine the headlines, the
How many eyes
reverberations.
would be exactly? How many eyes would be on that? And
Fuck's sake.
he scores a goal against Barcelona. I mean,
Yeah.
Tony Watt scored the biggest goal that he's ever going to score in his entire life. And I mean, he's treated like a superstar in Belgium a year later when he's on loan and he can't even get a game just from that one goal. And to your point, Finn Bogason comes in here and he scores a goal against Milan or he scores a goal against Barcelona and he couples that with 30 goals in the SPL. Of course, people are going to notice that.
No, but listen, G, I was going to say there, he could have come in and scored a goal easily against Milan. I mean, against Barcelona, Celtic could have been top of a group where they went into the San Siro, beat a depleted Milan team, and I reckon with Finn Bogason being one of the top scorers in all the European leagues, the guy's on fucking fire. I mean, okay, he would have scored a barrel load in the Premier League, but just those 2 goals alone, right? If he was to come in and score 2 goals, which could have been feasible, because that Barcelona team, if Celtic had a potent striker, with the play that they had, they were tight at the back, the midfield was dominant, and Barca were there to be got at. Samaras was all over the place, they couldn't cope with it. If they had a Finn Bogason there, then I reckon, just those 2 goals, we pay 5 million for a boy. If he comes in and scores 2 goals and sends us on the way into the last 16, you're talking the English Premier League is going to be looking at him and saying, right, he's worth 10 to 15 million. I mean, you just have to look at Wanyama. Southampton are playing a wonderful game of football, a high tempo game of football with a high back line, right? And you watch Southampton, right? They use the back line, and guess who's just sitting in front of that back line protecting them? Wanyama. And guess how many goals they've lost in 8 games? 3 goals compared to 24 for last season. And they're playing a high up line, and Big Wanyama is just sitting there fucking protecting them. So somebody like that, the English clubs can see the potential. So surely, if fucking anybody had a bit of brains and a bit of balls in the boardroom, they would have went round and says, look, this 15 million for Finn Bogason, he'll set this fucking place alight, and he'll do the Champions League probably good and proper as well. But I don't know, nobody in the Celtic boardrooms get any balls or brains. G, what do you reckon?
No, I completely agree. And unfortunately, the ship has sailed on Finn Bogason. I mean, Finn Bogason at this point, the news is out. So you're going to see Finn Bogason go to an English club, probably Newcastle, in January for about $7 million. We've lost the opportunity. Yeah. We had it in the summertime. We could have had him for $5 million, and we could have had him for $5 million, and it would have been a bargain. And people want to say, "Oh, well, we don't want to pay him £5 million player wages." Finn Bogason is on $10,000 a week right now. $10,000. We could double his wages. He'd be delighted. We'd be delighted. His agent would probably be delighted. But we had to go and buy 3 players instead of just buying 1 player with a bit of quality. It's frustrating. No question about it. Like you said, there are suits and the board making £1 million a year for what? That's the question that I had today on the show. What are they doing besides screwing things up?
Well, you see what they're happy to do is they're happy to find a level of success that keeps Dermot Desmond happy.
Right.
But
the
level of success that keeps him happy is completely different to your average fan who, yeah, he might be a fan, but he's not seeing it in the way we're seeing it, because we're saying, well, here's a wee gamble from Bogason, and we know what's been there. We need a striker. Every team needs a fucking striker, a spearhead, because that's what gets goals, that's what wins game, that's what wins prizes. And if you don't speculate to accumulate in that one position, then what's the fucking point?
Yeah. I mean, the point of the game. I mean, the what you set out to do in football is score goals. And if you don't have anybody that can finish opportunities, you're not going to score goals, and it makes it very difficult to win games. But it's clear that the people who are making decisions at Celtic Park are not football men. We've had this confirmed. I mean, think back to the comments that Neil Lennon had at the end of August. People were asking him, is he going to have more help coming in? Is the Finn Bogason deal dead? Is he going to have another striker being purchased? And Neil Lennon just put his hands up. He says, you're talking to the wrong person. You know, I haven't got much help here, but I'm the wrong man to talk to with this. So it's clear that it's not Neil Lennon that's making these decisions.
And do you think that Neil Lennon, it seemed to me that he seemed a bit frustrated with the comments he made there, and
Yeah,
after they get through against Karagandhi,
yeah,
you can't be helped. If we're sitting here saying, well, if only we had this guy, he's going to be sitting there saying, look, if we had that one striker, the San Siro, we could have put Milan out before they even scored against us, because if we had somebody decent who was going straight through and at them and pouncing on chances, then we could have left that stadium an easy victory. But and you can't help. He probably sitting there going. He's probably sitting there as a bigger football person than you and I put together, going, "Fucking hell, that was a chance in a lifetime."
no question.
And it was there for the taking, but we just didn't speculate that wee bit. He must be frustrated as anything. If we're sitting here frustrated, he must be likewise as well, because I mean, we've got the basis of a good team, a back defence. I mean, with big Virgil, Ambrose, Matthews, and then Lustig or Gear. You've got and then the goalie. You've got a strong nucleus. Then you got a midfield with Brown, who's playing just fucking out his skin, and you flitter that with Coleman, Samaras, and we just need that striker up top, fucking banging him in. And Bogason, I mean, that guy. Gee, that guy for me, right, is he's what we have needed, I think, since Henrik Larsson. A bone, just a out and out fucking striker, and someone so clinical that can turn the game on a dime. And I think seeing Finn Bogason scoring the way he does, mate, I reckon he was that fucking guy, mate. He was that man.
Yeah, 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 and I mean, there's only so much that Neil Lennon can do. If he doesn't have a poacher, I mean, you can't teach a dog to meow. You can't take a creative sort of supporting second striker and turn him into a poacher.
Yeah.
It's just, it's you're expecting a lot out of Neil Lennon. He's a great manager, but I mean, you can't put a center half in between the sticks and say, right, you're the goalkeeper, and then say, oh well, the manager should have had him ready to be a stopper. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. And if you're going to go for a raw talent and a Portuguese boy from the reaches of the Portuguese league, if you're going to go for that, well, bring him in as a project, but bring in a top class striker for this season, and then look to use that project so as that project can actually see how it's done. Put him alongside the proven striker. So you bring in Finn Bogason, who's banging him in like nothing else, and just say to the boy, see what that boy's doing there? You're not going to get a fucking game this season, but watch everything he does, because we're going to sell him and he's going to go to the Premiership, and all you need to do is copy what he does and you'll get the same move, son. I mean, something like that. I mean, it seems fucking thingy, but I mean, to go with Baldy and Pookie, the thing they should have went is, well, go with Baldy as a raw recruit, and then Pookie, like you said, he's a second class striker, but we're trying to make him into a top notch one. So save your 2 million and just spend the 5 million, a £3 million fucking dip, when we've already made 20 million plus the Champions League money for 2 seasons. Gee, I mean, that was a choice. We were through at the Champions League. We had Wanyama's money in the bag. We had Hooper's money and Wilson's money all in the bag. 2 years Champions League. Yet who do we go for? We go for Pookie, and we didn't spend that 3 million. I mean, it's just a lack, not a lack of investment, but just a lack of balls and imagination, as far as I'm concerned, G.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's incredibly frustrating. It's incredibly disappointing because there's so much promise here. There's so much opportunity, and we just throw it away, and not for footballing reasons, for financial reasons, and for reasons that are it's just impossible to understand.
And can I ask you, G, right? We always talk about the Celtic way on the park. I would say, as a Celtic fan of 41 years and seen it all, this is also the Celtic way. How we can shoot ourselves in the foot. I mean, many times we shoot ourselves in the foot and we do bad things in the pitch and we end up losing it. We achieve remarkable, glorious victories from the jaws of, so we achieve marvellous, brilliant defeats from the jaws of victory, but on the level of the boardroom, we just seem to be the Celtic way is to be penny